Good morning, boys and girls. We're going to be doing art online using our SRA art connections. I'm going to try to post one of these every week for you to look at, and we're going to review some of the things that we've already learned this year. So let's start out with our introduction, and let's talk about what is art. Art is painting. Here's a painting by an artist named Georgia O'Keeffe, and she painted a bunch of leaves. Let's zoom in on this if we can look at some more information. Okay. Yep, so this is a painting that they used with paint, maybe with tempera paint, or actually it says, if we look down here, it tells us her name. It tells us what country she's from. She's from America. And the name of this painting is called The Autumn Leaves, Lake George. And this year right here, 1924, tells you what year it was painted. And if you look down here, it tells you what it was made out of. And this was made out of oil painting on canvas. And if you wanted to see this in person, you could find this in the Columbus Museum of Art in Columbus, Ohio. So here's a close-up of it. Art is also a drawing. And this is a painting by an artist named Leonardo da Vinci. And it says self-portrait. And remember, boys and girls, we talked about a self-portrait. A portrait is just another name for a picture. A self-portrait means it's a picture of himself and that he created it himself. And let me zoom in on this. He is an Italian artist, which means he's from Italy. And this was painted in the year 1514, and it was made with red chalk. And you will be able to find this in the Royal Library in Turin, Italy, if you wanted to see it in person. Art is also a sculpture. A sculpture is anything that can be built up, like a Lego sculpture, a clay sculpture can also be made out of, someone could carve it out of wood. You can make it out of metal. It can be made out of stone. So here's an example. Some of your little toys that you play with at home, like your little action figures, can be considered sculptures. Or some of you guys have figurines or sculptures that your mom has probably in her cabinets. And this is a big statue, and it's also a sculpture, and it says unknown artist, which means they don't know who made it. And this is just a photograph of a sculpture. And you could find this if you wanted to. You visited the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and this was made out of bronze, which is a type of metal. And it's 46 inches high. And this was made a long time ago. And remember, a sculpture or a statue is something that you can walk around. You can go and look at all sides, not just the front, but you can walk around it. If you saw it in person, if it was on a table, you could walk around it. Or if it was, sometimes the sculptures can be really, really big, probably as big as a real person. So art is also sculpture. Art can also be, here's a big word, architecture. Architecture is just another word, a fancy word for someone who designs houses or buildings. Now, this is a very famous building, and this can be found in India, and this is called the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is a very beautiful building. It is made out of a type of stone called marble, and it was made in 1634 to 1648, 240 feet tall in Agra, India. So you can go and visit this place. People go to visit it all the time. And it's beautiful. It's a very, very famous landmark in India, and the people like to go and visit. Art is also printmaking. This is a print. A print is just another word for like a stamp. Okay. Like a footprint. When you step in the mud and you step on your mom's floor, your shoe creates a print. Now, this person made their print out of taking like a wooden block, a piece of wood, and they carved designs on it. And when they got done carving the designs on it, they would put ink on it and they would print it and they would put it on a piece of paper and rub it and it created a print. This is a very famous artist and his name is Katsushika Hokusai and it's called the Kirifuri Waterfall on Mount Kurakami, in Shomotsuki province in, let me see, in Japan. So Katsushika Hokusai was a Japanese artist, and he created this in 1833 to 1834. And this is actually a colored wood block, a piece of wood. See, if you wanted to see this particular artwork, you could find this in Honolulu Academy of Arts in Honolulu, Hawaii. Let's zoom in so you can see what this actually is. And it's a waterfall picture. If you zoom in closely, you'll see there's some Japanese writing. And it looks like there's some guys up here on the mountain. He does a lot of wood blocks having to do with water and the ocean. And there's some guys down at the bottom looking up. But this whole thing was made out of a wooden block that someone carved. And then they put some ink on it. They put blue on it first and stamped it. And then they picked it up and washed it off. And then they put green ink on it and then stamped it. So they had to be really, really careful when they stamped it so that it wouldn't get misaligned. But that's really cool. Art is also pottery. And we've used pottery and clay. You might have some of these things in your house. You might have a coffee cup or a vase or a flower pot. That is considered pottery. Or when you play with your Play-Doh, that is a type of pottery. If you made something out of it, then and created a container, that's a pottery. This is made by an artist named Harrison McIntosh, and he's an American artist. And this was made in 1966. There's a number here, 661. Wow. That tells me that this is the 661 first one of these. He made 660 of these before he made this one, because it's a number 661. So this is in the Renwick Gallery, and you could go to Washington, D.C., and you could see this in one of the galleries. And this is a special type of pottery. And after he took the clay and shaped it and made it, then he put it in an oven and he baked it. And then he also put some paint and glaze on it for different designs. And most pottery, they use to put liquids in it or to store things in. And some people just make pottery just to be pretty, to be put on shelves as things to decorate people's houses. So art is also pottery. Art is also weaving. You know that we did weaving last week. This is actually a kente cloth, and they don't know who the artist is, but if you look at this, this is from the country of Ghana, and you can find this in the International Folk Art in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But if you look closely, you know when we learn how to weave, we're talking about going over, under, or up and down, up and down. And this is a traditional cloth that they have in Africa. It's an African cloth in Ghana. And this is a close-up of the weaving. And remember how Ms. Capino talked about how we were weaving paper, about how weaving can also be made into fabric and clothes. This is a good example. And if you zoom in, you can see up close. And I'm sure if you look at it close enough, you can see which one's going over and under and over and under. So that's kind of cool because we just did this last week. So art can also be weaving. Art can be lots of things. A lot of times when you think about art as just being drawing and playing with crayons, but no, actually art is a lot of different things. Art can also be clothing. Here is a shirt. And this is an unknown artist, and it's an Arapaho man shirt. And this is like a Native American Indian tribe. Okay. And this was made in 1890. And it says it's made out of buckskin. Buckskin is like a deer, buckskin and feathers. And you could find this in the Buffalo Bill Historical Center, which is like a museum in Cody, Wyoming. So here's a really cool example of some clothes that is also art. And you can tell because it has, it's painted a certain color because obviously books are not blue. So it was artificially painted blue, and it has designs on here, and you see that it has symmetry. Symmetry means when we divide something in half, one side looks the same as the other. And you can see that there are what kind of shapes? Stars. There's a little person, and it looks like some kind of crow. And very cool. Boys and girls, they did not have Walmart and Target and any kind of stores back in 1890, back a long time ago. So if they wanted to wear something fancy, they had to have artists, and they had to have their women make things, and they would decorate them, and they would sell them. And that's something they would have to make on their own. And that is pretty cool, actually. So artists can be clothing. I'm sure you guys have lots of clothing at home that have different designs on it. And I bet you didn't even know that you were wearing art from your head to your toes. Now, artists created by people. I know that sometimes you watch YouTube videos and then you see little elephants and dogs and stuff like that making art. But for the most part, when we talk about art in school, we are talking about art is usually created by people. Every work of art has three parts. It has a subject. The subject is what you see when you look at your artwork. And when we talk about your composition, this is the word subject. Composition is how did they put the artwork together? How do they organize it? And then when we talk about content, what we're asking is, this is what the artwork means. So every work has three parts: subject, the composition, and the content. What is the subject of this artwork? Let's zoom in. Again, it says, let's zoom in. What do you see? What do you see? I'm going to let you look at it. So what do you think the subject of this is? I'm going to zoom out so that you can see it better. Okay. Let's see. What is the subject of this artwork? The subject, and the name of this artwork is called Bareback Riders. The subject of Bareback Riders is two circus riders on a horse. You're right. Let's look at this one. How is this work organized? This is a serape. It is a blanket, a Navajo blanket, which is Navajo is an Indian Native American blanket, and it's a classic style of wearing blanket. And what is the deal with this? I see that it's got different patterns on it. Huh. Whew. How is this work organized? Let's see. A classic serape style wearing blanket is organized in rows and patterns. Remember, a pattern is anything that repeats, like shapes or colors or. Now, what does this artwork mean? This is some artwork by an artist, very famous artist named Jacob Lawrence. He is an American artist. And before I say anything, let's look at this picture first. Who are they? What are they doing? What does this artwork mean? This is called Children at Play. Like all artwork, it'll mean different things to different people. Possible answers could include maybe they're having friendship, maybe they're playing together, they're all holding hands. What game do you think they're playing? Yeah, that's right. Looks like they're playing like Ring Around the Rosie. Now, let's talk about subject matter. Artists make art about a lot of different subjects. Name the subjects you see on these pages. This is a really cool picture. It looks like it's nothing but patterns. So on this one, this artwork does not use a subject that you can identify. When you first look at this, it doesn't really look like anything. It doesn't look like anything. It's really just a bunch of shapes. What are some of these lines and shapes and colors that you see in this picture? Dun dun dun. Let's look. Okay, I see all kinds of shapes and colors. What colors and shapes do you see on here? Well, here's an example. And we're also looking at the subject matter. This is a painting by an artist named Claude Monet, and it's called The Four Trees. What objects do you see in this landscape? I see trees. I see water. I see like bushes and plants. Subject matter. What everyday activities are these people doing? And this is a fun one by Carmen Loma Garza Narañas. So let's look at this. What are they doing? Looks like they're picking up. What do you think these things are? These looks like an orange tree. What can we tell by looking at this picture? Whoa, what is he doing up there? That's right. He's picking oranges from the tree. Who do you think this is? You're right. You think it's a grandma. And how can you tell? Because she's got gray hair and she looks older. Maybe that's the brother and maybe that's the father. And looks like can we count how many dogs these are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 black dogs. They are having time of their life because they're eating some yummy oranges. And what can we tell about this picture? Is it summertime? Is it wintertime? Where do you think this is? What part of the country do you think it's in? The mountains? Is it near the beach? Let's look. Can you tell where this might be? Maybe you can see what this is right here. That is a what? That is a cactus. And where do cactuses grow? That's right, in the desert or someplace where it's warm. But let's look again. Oh, actually, you're right. In Arizona. That's where Miss Capino was born. In Arizona. And Arizona is very dry and it's in the desert. So, and the subject matter, a story. What do you think is being told in this artwork? And this is sometimes art can be this as a quilt, and art can tell a story. What can we tell by looking at this? What are these people doing? It looks like they're got inner tubes and they're maybe on the water. Who is this guy? Yeah, you're right. Who wears that kind of hat? A police officer. Uh-oh. And what did they have their hands up? Maybe they did something in trouble or he's trying to get them. That must be his police truck. And these people are traveling. They've got things on their back. I think that's a baby maybe and a kid. Maybe they're trying to get away. I don't know. But artwork can sometimes tell a story. And let's look at this one. This is always a funny one we like to look at. What do you think the artist is telling us about these people? This is called ice cream cones. Okay, these girls are eating ice cream. An American painter, 1942. And this is painted with oil and egg tempera. And you can find this in Boston. Let's look at these. Looks like they're all dressed up. Where do you think they just came from? maybe church, maybe school. They're eating, what are they eating? They're eating an ice cream. But they don't look very happy. Why do you think they're not happy? I'd be pretty happy if I was eating ice cream. Maybe they got in trouble. Maybe their mom told them they couldn't have only one scoop. Maybe that's why they have such a sour face. Or maybe they got back from a funeral. I don't know. What do you think? And this was painted in 1942. So artwork can tell you a lot by looking at the picture, and you can look at the clothing or the activity that they're doing. And sometimes the artist can tell a story by what they put in their pictures. Now, artwork can also be, it can be an object. It could just be one for decoration. This is a letter holder or a book. And this was made in New Mexico and is like a book cover. And it's just got some really cool patterns on it. And it's a book cover they use. It can just be an object, something that someone uses. Now, things with a deeper meaning. What do you think this artwork means? This is called, by an artist named Rufino Tamayo, A Toast to the Sun. I have no idea, but let's look. It kind of looks like a toast is when you have a glass and you hold it up to the air. And that is one interesting picture. Is that his mouth? Is that a nose? Eyes? I don't know. Kind of looks like a creature, maybe like a transformer looking dude. And the sun is right here, and maybe some kind of bird or airplane. Sometimes art doesn't have to make any sense. It could just be something with a cool design or cool colors or patterns. And sometimes it can have meaning only the artist knows what it means. So, now we talk about the elements of art, and art we've talked about lines. Art talks about different types of lines because you have to have lines when you make art. Art has different types of shapes, and we've learned about shapes. Art has form. Art is space, meaning things can go inside and outside and around. When we talk about art, talks with color. Art also talks about value. Value is how light or dark something is, okay? And texture. Remember we talked about texture? And that texture is how something feels. Now, the principles of art. Sometimes we talk about the principles of art. And the principles of art are patterns. If you look at this caterpillar, it has patterns on it, black, white, and it also has like legs, no legs, legs, no legs. Patterns. Art can have patterns. Art can be rhythm. When we talk about rhythm in art, this is an example of rhythm, like in music. And then art can we talk about balance, principles of art and balance. Does it have symmetry? Like if I cut this paper in half, would one side look the same as the other? And emphasis is when you want something to stand out. And if they're all green, this wouldn't be able to stand out. But if you want something to stand out, you can change the color, make it brighter than everything else, and that makes it stand out. Variety means you have lots of different things. It's not just the same thing printed over and over. And here are a bunch of different butterflies, a variety. Kind of like when you get a variety pack of candy. It's not just the same candy. It's got a lot of different candies mixed in, and you want the variety pack. And harmony is when things work together. And unity is when we're working together. Same thing as harmony and unity. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Oh, okay. I was right. So let's look at this painting. Art, history, and culture. Look at the painting. How are these people dressed, boys and girls? What can we tell? The name of this painting is called Susan Comforting a Baby. Now, was this a long time ago or is this now? Okay. Well, we can look down here and it says 1881. But if you were just to look at the painting by itself, you could tell we don't wear those kind of clothes. That's like a clothing from the 1800s, from a long time ago. So you can also tell a lot about a painting by how the person is dressed. And it says she's comforting the baby because maybe the baby is sad and he's crying, and she's trying to tell him it's gonna be okay. Everything is gonna be okay, boys and girls. Everything is gonna be okay. So what are they doing? Looks like the baby's sitting in like maybe a stroller. You're right. What can you learn about the artist? I don't know much that I can learn about the artist. We can always look her up online, but just by looking at the painting, we know that the artist um, uh, likes or cares about children, and maybe likes painting pictures of mothers and children. She has a soft heart for children. Pretend you are Susan. Tell a story about this work. So you could totally make up a story. You could write a story about this. And you could make up your own story if you wanted to. And because nobody knows. It's like a picture. It's frozen in time. Nobody knows what she's doing. Maybe she's telling her a secret. Maybe she's telling her, it's okay. It's okay. Mommy will be home. Maybe she's a nanny. Or maybe she's saying, it's time to go to sleep now. We're going to go home. I don't know. So you can tell your own story about this painting. How does this work make you feel? Happy? It makes you think about your mom, being with your mom? What will you remember about this work of art? What do you see? If we were going to list the things that we see in here, we see a lady, a baby. What else do you see? A carriage, a wall, looks like a window, and some, what's this, right? Right, flowers and some plants. Analyze. If I ask you to analyze something, we're looking, if I say, hey, so what kind of lines and shapes do you see? Straight lines, diagonal lines, curvy lines. What kind of colors do I see? Green, red, blue, white, peach, like gray. Textures. How does something feel? What parts stand out? I think what parts stand out are the red flowers and also the white on the baby's dress. It makes the baby stand out from everything else because it's got the little white patches and it's brighter than everything else. And we already talked about this. What is happening and what is the artist telling you about Susan and the baby? Have you ever seen another artwork like this? How can you make art? First, you get an idea. You can plan your work on another piece of paper, or you can plan in your head. You can make a sketch. You can use media, and media means different types of art supplies. And then you can share your work. And when you're at home, you need to be safe. Make sure you use your art materials only on your artwork, not on your hair, not on the carpet, not on your mama's dining room table or on the walls. Keep your art materials out of your mouth, your ears, and your eyes. And if you're going to use scissors, if you have permission to use scissors, only use safety scissors and you keep them away, your fingers away from the blade. And you are not cutting your hair or your fingernails or picking your teeth with them. Make sure when you're done, you're going to wash your hands after using your art materials. If you have to, you can wear an old shirt or an art smock to protect your clothes when you're doing artwork. Or you can take some newspaper and put it down on your table. And always follow directions. And since we're not in school, you really can't follow my directions, but you have rules when you're at home. So I'll always follow what your mom or dad or whoever you're at staying with right now, and make sure that you follow their rules as far as what they have for using markers and crayons and art supplies at home. And that is it for week 1. Miss Capina is going to try to post one of these things several times a week, if not every day, maybe. We'll see. And I'll talk to you later.